You ever look up at the stars and get that feeling, are we really alone out here? It's this huge question, right? But what if the answer isn't what we hope for? What if the big cosmic silence isn't because no one's out there, but because everyone's hiding? From something terrifying? All right, let's get into it.
Yeah, this simple question, where is everybody? That's the whole puzzle in a nutshell. It was famously blurted out by the physicist Enrico Fermi, of all places, during lunch back in 1950. And man, does it get right to the heart of this giant cosmic contradiction.
Okay, so before we get to the really chilling answer, we have to understand just how big of a problem this silence actually is. Because the thing is, when you look at the numbers, the universe shouldn't be silent. Not at all.
I mean, look at this number, 200 billion stars. And that's not the whole universe. That's just here, in our own backyard, the Milky Way. To even try and wrap your head around that, think about this. There are more stars in our galaxy than there are grains of sand on every single beach on Earth. It's just mind-boggling. And, of course, a ton of those stars have planets. So that leads us to something called the Drake equation. Now look, it's not some magic formula. It's more of a way to think through the problem. You kind of plug in a bunch of probabilities like, okay, how many of those stars have planets? And how many of those might have life? And it helps you guess how many alien civilizations we should expect to see. And here's the kicker. Even when you're super conservative with the numbers, the equation basically screams that our galaxy should be buzzing with activity.
And that right there is the Fermi Paradox. On one hand, the math says the galaxy should be crowded. On the other hand, we look out there and we see, well, nothing. Just a whole lot of silence. It's this huge contradiction that's been driving scientists crazy for like 70 years now. And it's not like we haven't been trying to say hello.
I mean, we've been practically shouting from the rooftops for more than half a century now. We've sent a literal map to find us on the Pioneer 10 plaque. We beamed out a detailed message from the Arecibo telescope. We even launched a greatest hits of Earth on the Voyager Golden Record. And that's not even counting all of our old TV and radio shows that have been leaking out into space forever. So if someone is out there, where are they? Why the silence?
And this is where things get dark. We're about to dive into one of the most terrifying possible answers to the Fermi Paradox. And what's wild is, this idea didn't come from some astronomer staring through a telescope. Nope, it came from a science fiction novel. And it completely flips the script, suggesting the silence isn't because the universe is empty, but because staying quiet is the only way to survive.
Here it is. This is the heart of the idea, from author Lou Chickson's incredible book. He says, imagine the universe isn't this friendly, open place. Instead, it's a dark forest. And in this forest, every civilization is like an armed hunter, creeping through the trees in total darkness, terrified of being seen. If a hunter sees another moving shape, there's only one safe thing to do. Open fire. Eliminate them before they eliminate you.
Now, this whole terrifying idea rests on two really simple assumptions. I mean, they're pretty hard to argue with. Number one, survival is the most important thing for any civilization. You gotta live. Number two, civilizations always want to grow and expand. But the stuff in the universe, the planets, the energy, it's all finite. Put those two things together and suddenly you have a universe built on brutal zero-sum competition.
And this is what creates the real nightmare scenario, something the book calls the chain of suspicion. Think about it. The distances between stars are so huge that it takes messages hundreds, maybe thousands of years to travel. So you can never, ever truly know another civilization's intentions. Are they actually friendly, or are they just buying time to build a bigger weapon? You just can't know. And by the time you figure it out, well, you could already be wiped out. Real trust becomes totally impossible.
So it basically turns into a twisted game of cosmic chicken, right? Something straight out of game theory. If you spot another civilization, you've got two basic moves. You can do nothing and just hope they're friendly while risking total annihilation if they're not, or you can strike first and guarantee your own survival. In this kind of grim calculation, the only move that guarantees you don't lose is to destroy them first. It's what game theorists call a Nash equilibrium. In a universe where everyone is paranoid, it tragically becomes the only rational thing to do.
Okay, but hold on. Is that really the only logical move? It's an incredible story, for sure. Super compelling. But we have to remember, this isn't proven science, not by a long shot. Actually, the dark forest idea has some pretty big holes in it, and boy, do critics love to poke at them. So let's flip the coin and look at the other side of the argument.
So you have these two totally opposite views of the universe. On one side is the dark forest logic. Everyone's a threat, stay quiet, shoot first. But the critique says, wait a minute, look at life on Earth. Cooperation is often a way better strategy for survival in the long run. Plus, what if you strike first and fail? You've just created a sworn enemy for all time, when maybe, just maybe, you could have had an ally. The risk of retaliation is huge.
Yeah, the more you dig into it, the more you see the theory is built on some kind of shaky ground. I mean, first off, if being noisy is a death sentence, why are we still here? We've been blasting signals into space for a century, and it assumes every single alien civilization would think this exact same paranoid way. What if they don't? What if they're cooperative? And get this, those radio signals we're so worried about, they actually get super weak super fast. After a few light years, they're basically just static, lost in the background noise of the universe.
And that's why it's so important to circle back to where this whole idea came from. Remember, the dark forest isn't a scientific paper that's been peer-reviewed. It's a story. A brilliant, powerful story from a sci-fi novel that's designed to tap right into our deepest anxieties about the unknown.
This is the series right here, Remembrance of Earth's Past. The theory really gets its name and gets fleshed out in the second book, which is literally called The Dark Forest. And look, it gives this jaw-droppingly bleak answer to the Fermi Paradox, but you always have to remember, its main job is to serve the plot of a fantastic story.
And the book itself really digs into this conflict through its characters. It sets up this really stark choice. You have Chang Xin, who stands for morality, for our human nature. But in the story, her compassion is often framed as a weakness that leads to disaster for humanity. Then you have Thomas Wade. He's all about ruthless, cold logic, what he calls our bestial nature. And his view is framed as the only thing that can guarantee our survival.
And it's such a powerful story that, according to an analysis from ANU Press, its ideas have leaked out of the books and into the real world. This source points out that in certain online circles, the language of the Dark Forest is actually used to argue for things like authoritarian logic. It's been used to critique societies that are described as feminized, societies that are seen as choosing a kind of weak morality over the tough, rational choices needed for survival.
So where does that leave us? Well, it's kind of like a paradox wrapped in another paradox. We have no idea if we're alone. And if we're not alone, we have no idea if the silence means nobody's home or if it means everyone is hiding, holding their breath. And that puts us, humanity, in a really tough spot, with a huge decision to make.
So what do? Do we keep sending out messages, shouting into the void and hoping we find a friend? Or do we take the hint from the silence? Do we shut everything down, turn off all our lights, and just stay quiet? Hope that whatever might be lurking out there in the dark hasn't noticed our little campfire yet. It's a huge question. What do you think we should do?